What's going on, gamers? How's everybody doing? So, in this video, Shawn Layden says some very important things, which I think people need to realize. And it's starting off right here towards this section right here. Y'all get ready because he's about to admit something and tell you something that I've been telling PlayStation fanboys for a very long time. And I've been telling people about the success of PlayStation. So let's get ready for this because there is a lot of spilling the beans out in this last section. And it's pretty damn good. Definitely when it comes to third party and first party and what Sony is about. So we're about to find this out. Are we ready for this? All right, y'all, like, comment, subscribe. Let's get ready and let's go.
Sony knew that the company being new to the gaming space with producers like me, who didn't know what they're doing, working there, they had to be third-party friendly. The success of PlayStation would not be based on PlayStation games in the 90s. It'd be based on, can you get FF7 guys to abandon Nintendo and come onto PlayStation? Can you be the platform for games like Resident Evil, which had never been seen before, survival horror kind of games?
Did you see what he just said? This is the way Sony wanted to come in the industry. Did you see what he said about Nintendo? Can we get them to abandon Nintendo? Because Final Fantasy 7, 8, 9 was supposed to be Nintendo 64 games. But I don't think people understood that back then, Nintendo actually published the first Final Fantasy. That helped Square get to where they are. Same thing with Capcom. Everyone was all successful on the SNES and starting on the NES too. And Sony was looking for third-party power, right? Because they didn't know about in-house or anything like that. They didn't come into the industry that way. So he just made it quite clear too that we need to be third-party friendly. It's mainly going to be about third party. It's going to be about, what did he say? Can we get them to abandon Nintendo? Can we get Capcom to put their games on our system? Marvel vs. Capcom, Resident Evil, all those sorts of things. So you see, most of their success was going to be started off of third party and other people's games. They're the only company ever in history to do this. And he even made it quite clear, we're coming in to screw over somebody else. Can you get them to abandon somebody else? He just straight up said it, man. Like, you know what I mean? I respect that honesty. Like, and it's, as I've been saying, people buy PlayStations for third party, not first party fanboys. It's all right there.
So Sony did, and then Tekken and Ridge Racer, because the law was you can't launch a platform without Tekken and Ridge Racer. So those exclusives were crucial to getting PlayStation some altitude, because there's no way PlayStation could build their way against the Sonic Empire and build their way against the Mario Empire. PlayStation had to be the people's platform, if you will, and allow other parties to come there and be successful. So I think...
Did you see what he just said? There's no way we were going to do in-house and try to build against the Sonic Empire and the Mario Empire. Meaning Sony didn't come into this industry to be creative and in-house. We came into this industry to take other people's games, lock away other people's games to be successful. Right? We didn't come in here to be in-house. But where the game is at right now, you're going to have to start kind of doing something like that for the future of the industry. This is very interesting, the way that he's admitting it. And I've been telling people, it's a third-party platform. You don't buy a PlayStation for exclusives. It's right there in front of some people's face. But then, like, you have to have somebody like Shawn come from the Sony world and say that. And they're like, oh, it's like, it's been right in front of you the whole time.
What we did, particularly in Japan, to bring people exclusively to the platform was strategic and important. And we replicated that model in the US and in Europe. But at the time, let's be honest, PlayStation 1, there were so many games coming out. I mean, we talk about exclusivity, but the first party games, which are by definition exclusive, never held more than 20 or 22% of the software market for PlayStation games. Unlike Nintendo, which routinely has 80 to 85% of their software market, or at the time, Sega had a huge slice of their software market. So I think buying the exclusives were important to give some throw weight to the PlayStation community. I don't think there's a moral question around that.
It's just business.
it's business, and it's to make yourself stand out. It's like everyone wants to have features other people don't. And some companies that did exclusive deals, had they not done that deal, that game maybe didn't get made because no one else was putting money out there to get them. So I think net, it's a positive, but no studio has to be exclusive. You can choose your own adventure. But now today, more platforms are doing multi-platform, and that's largely because it takes that much addressable market to make back your $250 million investment.
There it is again. What is he saying? Sony has to go more third party. We have to listen to what he's saying. You see what I mean? Because Shawn Layden is not wrong. He's a very intelligent guy. You don't lead Sony for as long as he did and beat your opponent and be like, oh, it's just Shawn Layden. It's like, no. Listen to the old guy. Listen to his wisdom. You see what I'm saying? And it's good to have stuff like this because he's letting you know exactly how PlayStation thinks. You see what he said again about Nintendo, and what he's saying again about Sony, and what they need to do to succeed, the feats they need to have. It's about getting those exclusives. See, when he's saying exclusive, he's talking about timed deals, timed exclusives, not first party. And then he made it quite clear that the biggest our first party's ever gotten was like 20% market share. Like back then. And that was easier to do back then because of how easier it is to make video games. Right now, that percentage is even lesser. But you're like, man, that doesn't make any sense considering that now they're trying to make more games than they ever had. Yeah, but how long does it take to make the game and how expensive is it is? And he says, not everybody has to stay exclusive. That's a choice. You can see it now more than ever that because of a $250 million budget, and they're talking about their budget, that we're going to need to branch out. Not only did he admit that Sony was a third-party platform, but he also gave you the ratio, and he also let you know that PlayStation cannot succeed without third-party. PlayStation cannot succeed without there's time third-party deals going on over here. You see what I'm saying? PlayStation cannot succeed being first-party. PlayStation has to be third-party in multiple facets. Other people's third-party and going out to be third-party now with our first-party and just in general. Like you get it. If you don't want to accept this, it just says a lot to me because I find it very interesting.
Yeah, there's more risk taking. It was a bit more fun when it only cost $5 million to make a game.
Yeah, right. A little bit different at that time.
Yeah.
If you could eliminate one trend in the gaming industry from the last 20 years, which one would it be? What's a trend you don't like that you want to see go away?
Well, that sounds elitist because every trend is a trend for a reason. It's a trend and I don't like it. It's all the toxicity that still comes with the online chat in game. You know, it's like people grow up, please. When you're in your Fortnite sesh or your Call of Duty sesh.
Oh, those games?
We're all gamers. We're trying to have a good time.
Yeah.
Let's not go into that crazy, very ignorant place of screaming epithets down a wire to strangers you have never met before.
Yeah. Can we bring it down like 75% a little bit?
Yeah. Can we just end with a good game, guys? Can we do that? Go back to that?
Yeah.
I can just imagine somebody like Shawn Layden, who has to be like super mature and never yelled or anything, get on Call of Duty, see people just raging out and stuff that you see now. To them, he's like, yeah, okay. You might want to get help, little buddy. You can just see that on his face, raging down a mic at somebody you've never met in real life. That's so funny. Like just his ideas, the way he's saying things, he's more old fashioned. It's just funny.
That one is still, it's surprising that it's still as rough as it is. Usually my experiences are pretty good, thankfully. But you know, every once in a while you hop in a COD lobby and it's not the most pleasant. We'll just say that.
Yeah. So that's a trend I'd like to see go away.
We'll jump over to Emud, who asks, would Shawn ever work at Xbox to help it become better?
Again, never say never, but I think my best days are behind me.
Got it.
That makes sense.
What do you think Xbox should do to become better than PlayStation? He asks.
Ooh.
how would that even? I don't know.
I don't know what the measurement of that would be. I think
they're different. I don't know.
I think they're but if you're a third-party publisher, which they are now, if you own ABK, and
so I let it say it too. Hey, but you know what's so funny? Like, he's viewing it as a third-party publisher, but he's saying that Sony pretty much has to be one too. That's interesting that he says that. That cracks me up.
Bethesda and the other studios they bought, Team Ninja, you've got to look at those studios. What do those studios need to be successful? It's really not what your hardware needs. It's what do those studios need? And if they need multi-platform exposure to substantiate the cost of the games, then make that happen for them. I think the imbalance or the huge amount of development resource that they have, I think, in my view, you have to focus your lens on that survivability and that success metric. And how do we make those studios stronger than strong? And if it fits whatever your hardware ambitions might still be, that's great. But not the other way around.
Well,
you see what he just said, too. The most important thing is content, software, not hardware. You're not going to make much off of hardware. He's saying something that's actually very relevant to the PlayStation fanboy community. He just told you something. Now look at his face, too. He's very serious about that. Dustin's like, okay. Shawn Layden is funny, man. And look you have just cracks me up. You see the difference between these two looks? It is absolutely hilarious. Oh, man.
I got to ask you, should they buy Ubisoft? There's a rumor going around that Ubisoft shopping around. If those IPs, if you were at Xbox, those IPs come to your door, or PlayStation or wherever, do you jump at that opportunity?
Microsoft has so many, though. Wow.
I love Ubisoft. I love Eve, and we worked with them way back in the day on Rayman.
Yeah,
bringing that to PlayStation.
Great times.
Very popular game.
Rayman Legends.
Very popular game. Huge development resource on hand there. It's a massive undertaking. All I'll say is this: when I left Sony as chairman of Worldwide Studios, I had, I think, with Insomniac, it was 14 studios that were, in our constellation of development activities. I look at the number that are already under the umbrella at Microsoft. We look at what happened in Scandinavia with Embracer, and how they reached, explosive output at one point. Hey, if Microsoft feels they could do something effective with it, good luck. But I think there comes a time when it's just too big to manage.
Yeah, you think it might be the straw that broke the camel's back, so to speak, like one too many.
Hey, I topped out at 14. So I don't know. I can't imagine what like 30 something or 40 something looks like.
Yeah, I get that. IMAT says, what does game ownership look like in the future for gamers? That's a good question. With physical games going the way of the dodo and streaming subscription services on the rise, is there any hope for a digital ownership movement? That's a good question.
That's a good question.
One, Matt.
And it's right in the zeitgeist right now. As you see, your downloaded games are not telling about your rights as an owner, but your entitlement as an accessor, or you have access to this game until you don't. And it brings a bunch of questions. We see those questions happening in the streaming video world as well, where some HBO's things I watched, and now they're no longer listed on the HBO site, but I want to watch them, but there's no Blu-ray alternative.
Yeah.
Does that IP even exist anymore? There have been crazy stories about with this kind of delisting of stuff from the streaming services. There's been a rise in torrent activity, right? If I can't play the Blu-ray and I can't stream it over here, is pirating it bad? If it's not available commercially anywhere, that's a question. As far as gaming, I think ownership is important.
Yeah,
I think physical gaming is still going to be with us for a while. But what does that mean when you have your digital download on your hard drive, and essentially they can just turn a key on server side and you're no longer in that game anymore? we have to begin to deal with that. One of the things I'm working with is there a way using blockchain technology? Don't worry, this is not going to turn into a Web3 conversation.
All right, that's enough.
Settle down, Destin. Settle down. But just in the way that using a smart ledger, if you can track the ownership permissions for one executable, you have a game, you sell to me. There's an open ledger which says you no longer possess rights to access that code, and now I do because I bought it from you, and I paid you $10, and of that, some percentage goes back to the original game developer. That's the one thing about used games you never liked in the physical world, is that GameStop could sell that copy of Twisted Metal 10 times, but the originator only saw the first sale. So using a digital platform where you can actually provide a subsidy or a residual payment, a residual to the game creator as it gets sold down the line from person to person, I think that's a good future. I mean, right now you can't sell your digital music library either, because we can't assign who has permission to see it and who has lost permission by selling it. So I think technology can begin to answer that question, and that'd be great, because then we can create our own marketplaces. We don't have to go through in-game markets to sell items for Warcraft or sell items for Destiny. That would open up new opportunities, definitely.
That's actually a compelling argument for blockchain.
Yeah.
I've been very anti all of that.
That's
but
pretty
actually,
interesting.
Like,
he's right. That's pretty interesting. That's kind of like a genius idea in a certain way.
Ownership, that kind of makes sense, actually.
Yep.
Yeah. Shawn, I think a nice question to end on would be a really simple one. What's your favorite game and why? As my son is upset. Mom's with him. Don't worry.
There's so many. I love all my children from the PlayStation world. But I think the one game that had the biggest impact on me, which made me a gamer, and I began with pinball and skee-ball, so
yeah,
not completely out of the woods. But when I first played Prince of Persia on a Mac 2, that was transformative. I couldn't believe games like that, were possible. And the way Jordan coded it, and the rotoscoping of the animation of the character, we've never seen that before. We've seen, hop, 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 pixelated characters. Here's the prince climbing over a wall. Leap in the bridge shall appear. All these great memes in the gaming industry began right there with Prince of Persia. And that'll always be my favorite game.
That's a really good answer. It just brings back memories of how that game worked, Karateka, and
but there we have it, Joe. So at the beginning, man, we got some very important stuff here. Just kind of wanted to end it off. Now we're done with this interview, and this last part was pretty damn important. Definitely getting our answers on third party and all that, and what Shawn Layden thinks. So glad to do this for you guys. Let me know what you guys think. Like I said, like, comment, subscribe, and yeah, this is a really good one. Good interview, Dustin. And we got more answers from the big boss, Shawn Layden. All right, y'all. Peace out. Have a great day. Ponies, sit down.